Hi, I'm Larry Martin with Martin Door Manufacturing. On another video, we showed you the installation of a Martin Finger Shield door system on a variety of jam conditions and headroom. But in the field, as you well know, there are many problems to solve. Martin Doors has the solutions. Watch. As we do that, remember three important points. Use spacers to level the door and the track. Use the bottom section to determine level and reverse angle shield locations. Check to make sure that the reverse angle shields are 3 1/2 inches outside to outside, wider than the door, at the bottom and at the top. When you follow these three key points, it will save you a lot of time by eliminating errors before they happen. And when you do it this way, it will never be wrong. It will always be right. Now, let's talk low clearance. Normal clearance above the top of the door is 12 inches. Sometimes you don't have that. With Martin Track systems, we make that easy. We have many different clearances available. Page 20 of the instruction sheet tells about one of them. It tells how to install a door with 8 inches of clearance. Let me show you how. First, cut 3 3/4 inches off the bottom of the vertical track and the reverse angle shield. For a variety of clearances, different amounts need to be cut off from the bottom of the vertical track and the reverse angle shields. Follow the instructions carefully, but don't be afraid to experiment. Again, on page 20 of the instructions, it tells us to follow steps 1 through 16. Except on low clearance, you use 5 cardboard strips instead of 2. We need to make sure they're level just like we did before. And then the angle mount sits on the 5 cardboard strips, even with the mark that we've made, and held in place with one of these clamps. Perhaps you're wondering why 5 cardboard strips. Well, I can tell you, when you're working on tight clearance, sometimes you're going to want this extra adjustment. This is the normal low clearance track. As it comes, it's used on 8-inch clearance and 4 1/4 inch clearance. You can cut it off on this mark, and it can be used on 2 1/2 inch clearance. We'll show you that later. Now we've installed the regular horizontal track and the vertical track. This is the upper low clearance track. It sits on top of the horizontal track like this, and normally it fastens to the 3rd hole back of the horizontal angle. This extra horizontal track is the only additional hardware required for Martin 8-inch low clearance. I say normally in the 3rd hole because when you're working with low clearance, there's a lot of variety. A lot of different things can happen, and we provide slots and adjustments to try to take into consideration all of the possibilities. Next, you bolt the back of the low clearance track to the vertical angle. On a normal clearance door, the top roller bracket goes this way. On low clearance, you turn it over this way, and the roller carrier then turns around and goes up tight against the door. You want to have the bolts come up through so that you'll be able to tighten them down if there's a strut. Then it installs in the low clearance track like this. Always use all 3 fasteners. Finally, push the top of the door against the header, pull the bracket back tight, and tighten it down. Remove the locking pliers. Let's see what kind of clearance we got this in on. Now the top of the door is normally 7 foot 1/2 inch. And above the top of the door, we're in just a little under 8 inches. Now let's look at this measurement. Remember, this door is 7 foot 1/2 inch tall, and the highest point of the door is only 5 inches above that. So you can put an operator above this door now, above its highest point of trajectory, and the whole installation will only take 8 inches, including the operator. Remember that I told you that the Martin door will go in on a variety of clearances? Look at this situation. We have less than 2.5 inches, and yet this door will open. Let me show you. How'd we do it? On 2.5 and also on 4 1/4 clearance installations, in addition to the low clearance horizontal track, you need an extra low clearance kit to install the spring assembly at the back of the track. The kit includes special punched angle assembly, cable pulleys, longer cable, bolts, nuts, and these red spacers, and finally the instructions. In order to get the door in on that short a clearance, you'll need to follow these supplemental instructions very closely. The measurements are critical. First, the edge of the track is spaced 1/2 inch further away from the door than normal. That's achieved by a little spacer here on the roller. You then have to increase the measurement from the edge of the door to the reverse angle shield by 1/2 inch. So instead of being 1 3/4 inches, it becomes 2 1/4 inches to the outside edge of the reverse angle shield. And you now have 1 inch clearance between the track and the edge of the door. The reason you need this additional space is because up here we have a pulley. So you have a spacer at the top to hold the track away and the pulley. And the reason for having a pulley is because the cable goes clear back here to the back, and the entire spring assembly is back here. Notice the lock-on side bearing bracket still locks on. That's done by using a piece of special angle that we furnish, where the vertical angle has a supplemental piece bolted to it, and the lock-on side bearing bracket then locks onto this. So you still have the safety feature of the lock-on side bearing bracket. Let me show you some of the differences between normal clearance and low clearance here at the front. First, the top roller bracket has been moved down the door. Another difference, the horizontal track on this clearance has been cut off. The pulley looks like this, and it has been mounted at the front of the horizontal angle. And finally, a set of long cables that go from the bottom bracket over the pulley and back to the cable drum. Notice also that the roller shield on the top roller has been removed to allow it to clear the pulley. It's not easy to install a door in this low a clearance. 2.5 inches, 2 3/4, it just depends on the conditions. Follow the instructions and do your own experimentation, but you can get the door in on a variety of very short clearances. Okay, here's another situation. In this one, we have about 4 1/4 inches from the top of the door to the underside of this operator. And on it, we use the standard low clearance track. We've spaced the track 1/2 inch wider than normal, so it's 1 inch from the edge of the track to the edge of the door. We still have the pulley. We're able to use the roller shield. The spring assembly is at the back, and the door will go in on 4 1/4 inch clearance.